Hi, and welcome to the Pet Healer Podcast. This is your host, Dr. Mitzi Vargas, and today we're going to talk about CBD oil. So, CBD oil, there's good news and bad news, right? With CBD oil actually works for dogs in certain conditions, and I want to be specific in where do I actually prescribe CBD oil or help or ask people to try it. And the bad news of this is that the industry is totally unregulated. Even our local gas stations sell CBD chews and oils for pets. And of course, when you look at it, it has all sorts of chemicals in it. And so, of course, we have to be very, very careful with what you buy for CBD. But as to does it work? It does. Not only do we as humans have receptors for that molecule, the cannabinoids molecules, we have receptors for them. The dogs also have receptors for them. So that means if we have receptors, that our body came prepared for it to handle it. So that means that we can give CBD to pets, and there's got to be a physiological effect after doing so. A lot of the great uses of CBD in people are for sleep. A lot of people that have insomnia can't sleep. Some people use it for appetite, especially geriatrics that are really sick. Many people use it for pain. And some people that are very vocal use it for seizures. And so the seizure use of THC containing products, it's one of those the misinformation out there, and where people want to use those products in the dogs without knowing that THC, that compound, is toxic for dogs. And so the hemp, when you look at the hemp, and then when it says CBD full spectrum, stay away from it. Full spectrum means that it contains THC. So the other ones that do not contain THC, those are the ones that we want to look for. We want to look for organic. That means that they're not going to flood those plants with pesticides and all sorts of chemicals to extract the cannabinoids. There are over 400 cannabinoids into the hemp plant. And so you know that there are many that we do not know what they do in our body. We just focus on the CBD because it's the famous one in the moment. This is the fastest growing industry, I believe, because everybody's getting into the game. Everybody wants to be a farmer. Everybody wants to be a producer. I mean, there's so many weird online stores popping up selling pet products that have CBD. And of course, our association, the Florida Veterinary Medical Association, does not endorse the use of CBD, and they guide us to be careful in endorsing it. However, because I am a alternative healer, I have actually enrolled our practice into a national study. 20 practices treated 20 patients. So our 20 added to or other 19 practices for a total of 400 pets that were treated with CBD. And what this company wanted to know, does it work for arthritis? They were testing for arthritis, not for anxiety, not for appetite, not for seizures, just for arthritis. And they had a very well-designed study. And the study was, you had a pain scale that you fill in the beginning. The owner fills the pain scale and some information. And then we did CBD for, I believe it was 6 weeks, CBD oil that they provided, organic. They're from Colorado, very good company. And Companion CBD, by the way, which is the owner is wonderful. And Companion CBD is expensive as compared to all the stuff riffraff that you get into the gas stations, but it has been proven. There is evidence, scientific evidence behind the use of that oil. And what we found here was very good results, because I decided to use it on some dogs that were getting acupuncture and herbs, or some of them that couldn't get the herbs. They got the acupuncture but couldn't get the herbs because they caused diarrhea or caused something they were really finicky to eat. And so, of course, we did the oil for them, and we noticed a big improvement in mobility. So the animals were less anxious because of that. So we it's a cascade. If you control pain, then the animal can sleep better, can be less anxious because it's not suffering, and eats better too because it doesn't have pain. It's not preoccupied for pain. Then there's other survival instinct kicks in, and there's other things to do. And so in our 20 patients, we got 100% of them responding to it. To the same degree? No. Some of them were amazing. And the funny thing is, it was the super geriatric ones, the ones that were 14, 15, 16. Those were the ones that did the best. So I feel that there's a use for it. There's a place and a use and a timing to use CBD oil. I think that sometimes the owners have very bad expectations because they expect to be a one thing cure. You give it and that's it. You don't have to do anything else. And what we learned about pain is that the multimodal approach, which means multiple ways to control the pain, they all work synergistic. And that might include herbs, that might include acupuncture, cold laser. We have therapeutic ultrasound. We have TENS. We have other modalities like chiropractic care and rehab helping use the body in a better way so that the animal can compensate better, can correct certain problems with the gait and the positioning. And so, and building up muscle, which are great things to help with pain. And so, food approach, we can do a lot of supplements to help, like turmeric and boswellian. There's a lot of really good stuff out there, glucosamine, polyglycans, a lot of things that really help round up that pain control. But CBD can definitely be a player in it. Definitely be a player, but is it the only one in this stage? I don't think so. Not even when it's for anxiety by itself. But when we're talking about joint problems, I use also NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, which are Western medicine. But occasionally you have to use it. And you have to use gabapentin, which is, again, another Western pharmaceutical, but it's used for neuropathic pain, nerve pain. So those two can have side effects, of course. And if your pet is on one of them chronically and they develop liver or any kind of problem, then obviously we have options. And maybe CBD might be an option in those cases. But I believe that if you cut the dose or the frequency of the the Western drugs, then you can add something like CBD or, glucosamine or any other of those more natural supplements, and then achieve a synergistic effect in which the dog is acting a lot better, less pain, and the arthritis pain is managed. Dogs with cancer, cancer, you mentioned cancer in pets, it's on the rise. At least I've been a practitioner for 27 years, and we're getting way better at diagnosing it, or we're definitely seeing a rise in cases. And so I've read that 50% of all adult dogs will develop cancer. That is astounding to me. It's crazy. It's like an epidemic. And so how can we fight back? How can we try to fight back against cancer? Well, again, there are a lot of options out there. Allopathic Western medicine has radiation and chemotherapy. They happen to be heat toxins. They happen to be tough for the body, and you can actually ameliorate those effects by using CBD and using herbs and using acupuncture and other modalities, or you can just go all alternative and use just those modalities that I mentioned, plus maybe CBD. And because the CBD has been researched in cancer, because when people were proponing the use of marijuana, there's a lot of studies out there using the marijuana plant for cancer, especially mammary cancer. And I remember there was a study on mice and mammary cells, and they found out that the survival time was significantly increased in those mice that had the CBD oil, and the tumors were not as big. So it slowed down the growth of the tumor. Again, it didn't treat the tumors, they still had cancer, but they lived longer and better lives with it. So again, some of the studies say that the CBD actually kills cancer cells, and others say that they mostly stimulate the system to make them more able to detect the cancer cells to the immune system. So, I mean, either mechanism is not clear. There's not a lot of studies. There's every day there's studies coming out, and you research PubMed, and you see a lot more studies coming out about CBD. So this is a changing environment, so more evidence can come forward. But right now, I don't know if it's directly killing the cancer cells or stimulating the CD4 and 8 lymphocytes, T lymphocytes. And I don't know the direct effect or the indirect effect, but there definitely is a slowing of the growth. And so it's definitely worth using in those cancer patients. Dogs with seizures, I have not had great results with the dogs with seizures. I think the post-dromal, which is after the effect of the seizure, when you give CBD, they're calmer, because the seizure, what people don't know is that the seizure, it's a threefold event. Before the seizure, your dog's experiencing different symptoms and showing different things, signs. Then is the seizure event, which will be seconds to a couple of minutes. And then post that incident, post the seizure, it could be 24 hours, 48 hours, and your dog's still not well. So what I have seen is that when you do CBD oil for seizures, it's not that the seizures are stopped either. It's like with the cancer, is that the seizures are not as bad. They don't seem to come in clusters, meaning like one after the other, it's just an episode and that. And that the post-ictal phase, which is where after the seizure episode, is shorter. So they're more themselves quicker. So instead of being a day or 2 days after the seizure, they're same day, maybe early next day, they're back to normal. Dogs with anxiety, I tell you, I'm using CBD right now for a rescue, Pluto. My daughter rescued a dog from China, from the meat market. And so he's beautiful. He's a Samoy, but he's extremely anxious. He has severe separation anxiety. Who can blame the poor guy? He just doesn't want anybody to leave him. And so we are going to have a research paper by the time we control this anxiety, because I have tried a lot of things with him. And one of the things that we tried is CBD. Has it worked? Not really. Although there have been some studies with animals, and it seemed like it helped manage the effects of the anxiety. In people, there are more studies about anxiety and depression, And the studies in humans, where at least, you can have the feedback, a little bit better feedback. And apparently, for humans, they have pretty good, strong evidence that it does help anxiety and depression. For dogs, not so much, in my opinion. Um, I don't think that it relieves stress and anxiety, but I think it helps regulate serotonin. And serotonin is the good mood hormone. It makes you be more social, eat better, sleep better. So, I mean, if it does boost the serotonin, then must have some sort of effect in there. And lastly, I wanted to talk about allergies because in my previous episode, we were talking about vitamin C given to those pets that have allergies. It might help regulate the immune system a little bit better and help with the control of allergies. And Lord knows when you have an allergic pet, you're desperate. You just want the itch to stop and you want the pet to be happy and you want to sleep again because the dog doesn't let you sleep, or they tear themselves apart, especially cats. They just pull their hair and they just look awful. So, one of the things is that the endocannabinoid system is found in the skin. That's great news. That means that if you take CBD, then it would go there to that organ where they have receptors. So the CBD can perhaps help relieve the dry, the itchy skin, and the allergies. And it can actually promote the growth of healthy skin cells. Um, so I think that for all of the pet owners listening that have allergic dogs, and again, I count myself as one of them with Uli, that is a promising use of CBD. When you're looking for the CBD, this is the dosages are going to vary so much. I'll tell you what the dosages we found in our study that we participated with the other 19 clinics, and it was 5 milligrams for small dogs. Sorry, 2.5 milligrams for small dogs, 2.5 milligrams of CBD for small dogs, 5 milligrams for medium dogs, and 7.5 milligrams for large dogs. That was the range of dosages that we tried and tested, and they were effective. When I look in those products, some of them advise extremely high doses, and I don't agree with that. Um, you have to have some sort of measurement of how much CBD is in that oil, that it does not contain THC, that is organic, and that it doesn't get any ethanol in it, because the ethanol, it's an extraction. They extract the product with the ethanol and other solvents, and guess what, some of that oil is going to destroy the 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 hemp plant wax and structure, and that results not going to be that oil is not going to be as powerful. So there are many ways of extracting it. Um, so if you do the pressure, like a high pressure chamber, and then using CO2, that's another way of extracting it. And this kind of extraction is going to be a higher quality, higher concentration. So that means that it's more in the oil of it. And those are the most expensive products. So if it's expensive, look at the extraction method. If they use ethanol, olive oil, or it says natural solvents, that's why it's the cheapest way, you know. And there's other certificate of analysis I've seen. Oh, certificate of uh, analysis of CBD. I mean, you could. I mean, I don't know how valid those organizations that certify the CBD quality are. I really don't have any opinion on it. Um, but definitely look and make sure that they have studies behind it, that it is not full spectrum, that definitely does not contain any THC. Um, and a lot of people, that might be controversial because a lot of people say a little THC, less than 0.03%. Like most of them say 0.03%. And that will be okay. It won't be harmful for your dog. And some advocates of the CBD would say that you need a little bit of that THC for the dog. I prefer no THC. But if you have, I mean, if you only find one that contains 0.03%, that's okay too. So as long as it's organic and complies with the other stuff. So anyways, I hope that you got some idea. There's so much information and misinformation out there about CBD oil, even for ourselves, So remember that you buy, the quality depending on the price, So high price products sometimes do mean better quality, more for your buck, and better effects for your pets and for yourself. So take that into account. Always, always organic. And I hope you learned one or two things today. And please share if you did. Just share this episode with your friends, with your social media. I really appreciate. We're trying to raise awareness that there are alternative options for your pets out there. And visit us, our Facebook page, The Pet Healer Podcast, or our website, thephealerpodcast.com. And leave us a message, give us some feedback. We appreciate it. Until then, see you.